hostess wouldn't meet my eyes when she walked me into the private dining room at Auberge Saint-Pierre. I should have noticed that first. Should have noticed the way her shoulders went tight when she scanned the reservation and saw my last name on it. But I was 30 minutes late off a delayed flight from Boston. My hair was still damp from the rain, and all I could think about was that my mother turned 70 that night, and I'd promised her I wouldn't miss it. I walked into a room full of people who had already started eating without me. The table was a long one, set for 12. Crystal water glasses, 3 forks per place setting. Those little crisscrossed butter knives the way nice restaurants do. Candles low. The kind of warm gold lighting that makes everyone look 10 years younger. My mother sat at the head wearing the navy silk dress I bought her for Christmas. Her hands folded the way they always are when she's nervous. My older brother was at the other end, the place a son traditionally takes when his father is gone, and his wife was beside him with one hand on his sleeve, like she was holding a leash. There was no seat for me. I counted twice. 12 chairs, 12 people, and then me standing in the doorway with a wrapped box in my hand. My sister-in-law saw me first. She did this little thing with her mouth. This small, private smile she gets when she's about to enjoy something. Then she nudged my brother and he turned around in his chair, slow, like he'd been waiting. "Oh," he said, "you actually came." I said, "It's Mom's birthday." "Right, well." He gestured at the table with his wine glass, this little sweep of his hand that took in all 12 seats and the people in them. "We didn't think you'd make it, so we filled the table with people who were actually here. You understand." My mother looked at her plate. That's the part I keep coming back to. Not what my brother said, not the laugh his wife let out, not the way my cousin's husband suddenly found his bread roll fascinating. My mother. Looking at her plate, 70 years old, in the dress I bought her, on the birthday I flew across the country for, and she could not lift her eyes to look at me. I stood there for what felt like a long time. The hostess was still hovering in the hallway behind me. I could feel her there, embarrassed for me, which is somehow worse than being embarrassed for yourself. "This table is for family who built something," my brother said. He smiled when he said it like he practiced. "You know, spouses, kids, people in the next chapter. We figured you could grab something at the bar." I almost laughed. "Here's what you have to understand about my brother. I am a cardiothoracic surgeon. I work at one of the top 3 hospitals in the country. I am 33 years old, and I have spent the last 9 years sending money home, paying for my brother's failed restaurant, his second failed restaurant, his wife's boutique branding agency that never had a single client, the lease on the SUV they couldn't afford, my mother's roof, my mother's dental work, my mother's hospital bill the time she fell on the ice. I have not been on a real vacation in 5 years. I do not have children because I am 33 and unmarried and have spent every spare hour I have, either in an operating room or on the phone with my mother explaining why I cannot send another $5,000 this month. And my brother, who has never once in his adult life held a job for longer than 14 months, was telling me that the table was for people who had built something. I said, "Where would you like me to sit?" He gestured vaguely. "There's a little two-top by the window." Charming, actually. His wife put her hand over her mouth like she was hiding a smile, but really she was showing it to me. Look how funny this is." I walked to the two-top by the window. I want to be honest about what was happening inside me at that moment, because I've replayed it so many times since. I was not angry yet. Anger came later. What I was, sitting alone at that small table with my mother's gift on the chair next to me, was something more complicated. I was watching. I was paying attention, because in the 9 years I had been propping up my brother's life, I had developed a sense, the way you develop a sense for anything you do long enough, and that sense was telling me that something specific was happening here, something planned. I ordered a cup of coffee. Just coffee. The server, a young man with kind eyes, asked if I wanted a menu, and I said no thank you. He brought the coffee in a small white cup with a saucer. He did not ask why I was sitting alone at the window when there was a private party of 12 in the next room. I appreciated that. From where I sat, I could see the whole table. I had a clear view of my brother gesturing at the waiter, ordering for everyone the way he always does. I watched the first bottle of champagne arrive. Dom Pérignon. I know that bottle. I have watched my brother order that bottle on my credit card before. Then a second bottle. Then the appetizers started. Caviar service. Two of them. A tower of oysters. Burrata with white truffle shaved over it at the table by a man in a black apron who did it with the showmanship of someone who knew he was being tipped well. My sister-in-law caught me watching at one point. She lifted her glass to me. Just a tiny gesture. Just enough. Then the entrees. Wagyu for the men. Lobster for the women. My uncle, my brother's father-in-law, my two cousins, the cousin's husband, my brother's college roommate who I had not seen in 15 years and who was, for some reason, present at my mother's 70th birthday. They ate the way people eat when they are not paying, with their elbows out, and my mother, at the head of the table, picked at a piece of fish and did not look in my direction once. Around the time the second round of cocktails came, I started doing math in my head. I do this when I am stressed. I started pricing things out. 2 bottles of Dom Pérignon, that's $1,600 minimum at a place like this. The caviar service, easily $1,000 for 2 of them. Oysters at this kind of restaurant, maybe $3 a piece, and I counted 20. The truffle, the burrata. 12 entrees at 60 to 120 each, the Wagyu pushing 200. Sides, 3 more bottles of wine. They had a sommelier at the table twice that I saw. Dessert hadn't even come yet. I was at about $4,000 when my brother looked up and saw me watching. He smiled at me. Not a friendly smile, the smile of a man holding a card I had not yet seen. I want to tell you about my mother for a moment, because if you do not understand her, you will not understand the rest. My mother was a kindergarten teacher for 41 years. She raised 2 children alone after my father died when I was 9. She is small, and she is soft, and she has spent her entire life believing that families are sacred, that brothers and sisters are forever, that everything works out if you just love each other enough. She is the kind of woman who, when my brother totaled her car at 19, said, "Well, he's learning." She is the kind of woman who, when his wife stopped inviting her to Thanksgiving because she wasn't ready to share him yet, said, "Well, they're newlyweds." She is the kind of woman who has spent the last 9 years allowing my brother to run her credit cards up to the limit and then calling me, crying, to ask if I could just help out a little, just this once, just because she didn't know who else to call. I had paid off my mother's credit cards 4 times. 4 times in 9 years. The most recent payment was $11,000, and it had cleared my checking account 6 weeks before the birthday dinner. 6 weeks. I was sitting at the 2-top staring at my coffee when I felt my phone buzz. It was the credit monitoring app I had set up on my mother's account after the 3rd payoff. I had set it up because my mother is 70 years old and I worried about identity theft. I had set it up because I am the kind of person who handles things. I had set it up and then I had forgotten about it because for 6 weeks there had been nothing to report. The notification said her card had just been charged $840. At Auberge Saint-Pierre. I looked up. My brother was signaling the sommelier again. I want to walk you through the next few minutes carefully because I need you to understand that I did not lose my temper. I did not cry. I did not stand up and start screaming. I had spent 9 years being the responsible one, and I was not going to give that up now. Not in a public restaurant, not on my mother's birthday, not in front of my brother's smug wife. I opened the credit monitoring app. I scrolled back through my mother's recent activity. There had been a charge 2 weeks before for a $1,400 deposit at Auberge Saint-Pierre. There had been another charge the day before for catering staff overtime. There had been small charges all over the city in the last 6 weeks. A florist, a bakery, a formal wear rental, a liquor store. My mother had not spent $11,000 on herself. My mother had not even spent $500 on herself. My brother had been spending it. He had run her card up again. He had run it up to plan a birthday party for her of all things, a birthday party at a restaurant she could not afford in a private room she did not need, with guests she barely knew, while telling everyone at the table that this was a gift for Mom from her loving son. And I had been about to be presented with the bill. I knew it the second I saw him look at me from the head of the table. I knew it the way you know a diagnosis when you have done it long enough. I had seen the script before. My brother had a debt, my brother had a problem, my brother had been spending money he didn't have, and the second the check arrived, he was going to do that thing he always did. The look at the wife, the clearing of the throat, the little speech. Sis, you know, since you're the one with the real career here, since you couldn't even sit with us, maybe you could help out. For Mom. You wouldn't say no on Mom's birthday, would you? I had heard that speech in different versions 30 times, so I did something I had never done before. I stood up from my little two-top. I picked up my mother's gift. I walked across the room, very calmly, and I tapped my brother on the shoulder. I need to speak with you, I said, privately. His wife said, we're in the middle of dinner. It will take 2 minutes, I said. I did not look at her. I looked at him. He sighed. He made that big show of it, the way he always does. The sigh that says I am being inconvenienced by women again. He stood up. He followed me out into the hallway. I did not take him far. Just to the alcove by the coat check. What did you spend on Mom's credit card this month? I said. His face did something interesting. It went very still for a second. Then it rearranged itself. Excuse me? I have the alerts, I said. I set them up after the last time. You knew that. I don't know what you're talking about. The deposit on the room, the catering staff, the liquor store, the florist. You ran her card up to plan a party for her. And right now you are about to ask me to pay the bill tonight because you do not have the money to cover what you already charged to her card and what you were about to add to it. He looked at me for a long moment. He was deciding something. I could see him deciding it. Then he laughed. You know what your problem is, he said. You think because you make money you get to control everything. You think because you sent Mom a few checks you get to walk in here and accuse me of things in front of her family. I'm not in front of her family, I said. We are in the hallway, and I have not sent her a few checks. I have paid off her credit cards 4 times, including 6 weeks ago, including with money that was supposed to clear her balance, not give you a new line of credit. It's her money, he said. She wants to give it to her family. That's what family does. I almost laughed at that one. I almost did. But I didn't. Because I have spent 9 years not laughing at my brother and I was not going to start now. Here is what is going to happen, I said. I am going to walk back into that dining room. You are going to walk back in behind me. When the check comes, you are going to put it on a card that is in your name. Not Mom's, yours, or your wife's. I do not care which. But it will not touch Mom's card. Because if it touches Mom's card, I will dispute every single charge, including the deposit and the catering, and I will tell the bank that the card was used fraudulently by a family member, which it was, and then I will let the bank take it from there. He stared at me. You wouldn't do that to Mom. It would not be done to Mom, I said. It would be done to you. You are insane, he said. You are actually insane. This is a birthday dinner. Then pay for the birthday dinner. I don't have, he started, and then he stopped himself, and then he tried again. I shouldn't have to. You are the one with the surgeon's salary. You are the one who couldn't even be bothered to come on time. The least you could do is pick up the check. For Mom. There it was. There it was, the speech, the same speech, the for Mom speech. The you owe us because you have it speech. The how dare you have a career and not give us all of it speech. He had been preparing it for an hour. I had been watching him prepare it, and he delivered it in the hallway by the coat check because he could not deliver it at the table without me already at the table to deliver it to. I said, no. What? No, I said. I am not paying for this dinner. I am not paying for this dinner. I am not paying for Mom's card. I am not paying off her balance the next time you run it up either. I am done. He stared at me. He blinked twice. You are abandoning her, he said. You are abandoning Mom on her 70th birthday because you cannot handle being told to sit at a different table. I want you to know that I almost broke at that. I almost did, Because that is the line my brother has used on me my whole life. The "you are abandoning her" line. The "you are a bad daughter" line. The "it is your job to take care of this family because you are the one who left" line. He has used it to extract money from me since I was 24 years old. And it had always worked. I looked at him, my older brother, the boy I had once looked up to, the man I had spent 9 years pretending was someone I could still rescue. I said, "You did this, not me." I walked back into the dining room. My mother looked up when I came in. For the first time all night, she actually looked at me. Her eyes were wet. I do not know if she had been crying or if she was about to. I sat down in the empty chair my brother had left at the head of the table. I picked up the gift I had been carrying all night, and I set it down in front of her. "Happy birthday, Mom," I said. I said it loud enough that the whole table could hear me. "I'm sorry I'm late. My flight was delayed." She did not say anything. She put her hand on the box. "Open it later," I said, "when it's just you." I do not know what made me say that. I think I knew. I think I had always known. I think part of me had known for 9 years and had just refused to look at it. My brother came back into the room. He sat back down. His wife whispered something to him, and he shook his head, hard, once. She looked at me. The little smile was gone. The dessert came. Profiteroles, a souffle, a cheese plate I am quite sure cost $200 on its own. They ate it in something close to silence. My mother did not eat any of it. When the check came, the server, that same young man with the kind eyes, brought it on a little silver tray and set it in the middle of the table. He did not look at anyone in particular. He did not know who he was supposed to give it to. There was a long moment. My brother said, very quietly, "Mom, can I borrow your card, just for tonight? I left mine at home." I watched my mother's hand move toward her purse. I said, "Mom, don't." She looked at me. I have never seen my mother look at me the way she looked at me in that moment. I do not know how to describe it. There was a question in it. There was shame in it. There was something that might have been relief. She put her hand back in her lap. "Honey," she said to my brother, "I don't think I can tonight." His wife made a noise. A small, angry noise. "Mom," he said. "Mom, come on. I don't think I can tonight," my mother said again. Her voice was very small but very clear. "Maybe you should pay this one. I want to tell you that he paid it gracefully. I want to tell you that he stood up like a man and took out his wallet and put a card down. He did not. He sat there. He looked at the bill. He looked at his wife. They had a whole conversation with their eyes. And then his wife, jaw tight, took out her own card and put it on the tray and signaled the server. I watched her sign it. The total, with tax and tip, was $4,890. His wife did not say a single word for the rest of the night. People started leaving in twos and threes. My uncle hugged my mother. The cousins hugged my mother. The college roommate did not hug anyone. He just left, looking confused about what had happened at the dinner he had been invited to. My brother and his wife left without saying goodbye to me. They said goodbye to my mother. He kissed her on the cheek. She did not kiss him back. When everyone was gone, it was just me and my mother and the empty wine glasses. She said, "How long have you known?" I said, "About 6 weeks. But I didn't put it all together until tonight." She started to cry. Quietly. The way she has always cried, like she was trying not to bother anyone. "He said," she started. "He said it was going to be a surprise. He said he wanted to do something nice for me. He said he had it. He said not to worry. And I know I didn't want to make trouble. I know, Mom, he's my son. I know." She cried for a long time. I sat next to her and I did not touch her because she has never liked to be touched when she cries. After a while, she opened the gift. It was a bracelet, nothing fancy. A thin gold chain with a small heart at the clasp because she has always liked small hearts. She held it in her hand for a long time. "I'm 70 years old," she said. "You are. I should have been better at this. Mom. I should have stopped him a long time ago. I knew, and I let him because it was easier and because I was scared. I was scared he would, I don't know, leave me, hate me, something. So I let him take. And I let him take from you too. I let him because I told myself you could afford it and that he needed it more. That isn't true. That was never true. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. I am going to tell you something honest. I had wanted that apology for 9 years. I had imagined it. I had imagined the exact words, and when she said them, sitting in that empty private dining room with a candle still burning on the table between us, I did not feel triumphant. I felt tired. I felt tired in a way I cannot describe to you. I said, "It's okay, Mom." It wasn't okay, but she needed me to say it. So I said it. I want to tell you what happened in the months after because I think this is the part that matters. I closed every joint account. I closed the line of credit I had been a co-signer on for my brother 8 years ago that I had forgotten about and which, when I pulled it up, had a balance of $19,000 on it that he had not been paying. I called the bank with my mother. We sat at her kitchen table and we called them together and we walked through every single one of her cards and we canceled the ones she did not need and we set new alerts on the ones she did and we changed every password she had. I did not pay off the $19,000. I let it sit. It was not in my name to pay. My brother called me 4 times that first week. I did not answer. He called my mother 8 times. She answered twice and then she stopped. His wife sent me a long text message about how I had ruined the family. I did not read past the first paragraph. About 3 months after the dinner, my brother's wife filed for divorce. I am told he had been hiding debt from her too. I am told she did not appreciate finding out about it the way she did. I do not have details. I do not want them. About 5 months after the dinner, my brother sent me a long email. It started with the words, "I have been doing a lot of thinking." I did not read it. I marked it as read, and I moved it to a folder I labeled later, and I have not opened that folder, and I do not know if I ever will. My mother sold her house. She did not need anything that big. She moved into a small 2-bedroom near a park, and she walks every morning, and she has started painting again. She painted for a long time before I was born. She had stopped because raising children took everything she had. She is good at it. She is better than good. I have one of her paintings in my living room now, a small one, of a window with rain on it. She gave it to me the first Christmas after. I opened my own practice last spring. I had been thinking about it for years, and I had never done it because I did not have the money to spare, because the money I had to spare was always going somewhere else. I have the money now. The practice is doing well. I am tired all the time, but it is a different kind of tired than I used to be. I do not know what is going to happen with my brother. I do not know if I will ever talk to him again. There are days I miss him, or rather, I miss the brother I made up in my head, the one I kept waiting for him to become. There are days I am angry. There are days I am nothing at all about it. I think that is just what it is, when you let go of someone you spend your whole life carrying. What I want to say to anyone who is sitting at a small table by the window at their mother's birthday dinner, watching people who do not love you eat food they are not paying for, is this. The seat you are not given is not the loss. The loss is the years you spent trying to earn one. You can stop trying. You are allowed to stop trying. You are allowed to put the gift down on the table and tell the truth out loud and walk out into the parking lot and feel the cold air on your face and realize that you have been holding your breath for almost a decade. That night, after my mother and I left the restaurant, I drove her home. We did not talk much. When I pulled up to her house, she sat in the passenger seat for a long minute before she got out. She put her hand on mine on the gear shift. She said, "I should have set the table myself." I said, "Next year you will." She nodded. She got out. She nodded. She got out. She walked up to her front door in the navy silk dress and she turned around once at the top of the steps and she waved at me and she went inside. I sat in the driveway for a while before I drove away. I do not remember what I was thinking about. I remember that the rain had stopped. I remember that there was a light on in her kitchen and that, through the window, I could see her standing at the counter, holding the small gold bracelet up to the light, looking at the heart at the clasp. She was smiling. That was enough. I've thought about that night at Auberge Saint-Pierre more times than I can count, and what I keep coming back to is this: the bill didn't appear out of nowhere. Nothing ever does. Every single charge on my mother's credit card, every Dom Pérignon bottle, every silver tray of caviar, every empty chair at that table where my name should have been, was the harvest of a seed I had been watering for 9 years without knowing it. I had taught my brother that I would always pay. I had taught him by paying. I had taught my mother that her silence would always be protected. I had taught her by protecting it. And then I sat in that private dining room and acted shocked when the harvest came in. That is the part nobody warns you about. The people in your life are reading you the whole time. They are learning what you allow. And when you allow something long enough, you do not just permit it, you build it. I think a lot now about what it means to be a good person versus what it means to be a useful one. For most of my 20s, I thought they were the same thing. I thought being decent meant being available. I thought love was measured in how much you carried for the people who would not carry themselves. I was wrong about that. Decency without limits is not decency. It is a kind of cowardice dressed up as kindness. And the people on the other end of it do not become better for receiving it. They become worse. Marcus did not get worse because he was born bad. He got worse because every time he reached for something that wasn't his, I handed it to him faster. The hardest thing I had to learn was that walking away from someone you love is sometimes the most honest thing love can do. When I told my mother no in that restaurant, when I told her to put her hand back in her lap, I was not abandoning her. I was meeting her for the first time in a long time at the place where the truth lived. Vanessa lost her marriage because the lie she was living finally got too heavy to carry. Marcus lost his sister because he had spent 9 years confusing me for a resource instead of a person. None of that is punishment. None of that is revenge. It is what happens when you stop holding up a ceiling that was never yours to hold. If you are sitting at a small table by the window tonight, watching people eat a meal you are expected to pay for, I want you to know something. Your character is not measured by how much you can endure. It is measured by whether you can finally tell the truth, in your own voice, out loud, in a room full of people who would prefer you stay silent. That takes more strength than any check you could write. It takes more love than any sacrifice you have already made. And once you find it, nobody can ever take it from you again. Not your brother, not your mother, not the version of yourself that used to believe you owed everyone everything just for being good at what you do.